especially after 2020. I know a lot of people did that deep diving and that work um, to kind of understand that our government doesn't necessarily always have our best interest at heart. And there are a lot of people at play kind of that make that true, you know? And so going into the election, I think that distrust is like the number one thing at the back of our minds.
The opinions expressed by guests on Town Hall, a Black Queer podcast, are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the podcast host, Bob the Drag Queen and Peppermint, the podcast production team, or the organization Black Queer Town Hall. Each participant is chosen for their unique perspective relevant to the theme of their featured episode. While we strive to provide a platform for diverse voices and narratives, individual opinions may vary, and listeners are encouraged to engage critically and respectfully with the content and the people presented. Welcome back, everyone, to another season of Town Hall, a Black Queer podcast with me, Bob the Drag Queen, and
Peppermint.
The podcast where we journey through a theme by sharing stories, music, poetry, and art of varying depth and hilarity. We're excited to kick off season 4. Oh my God, can you believe season 4? This is a topic that is very timeless, very crucial, and it is the black vote. This is part 1 of a 2-part episode. We will speak to members of our community about their black votes, honey. Pep, do you know who the first person you voted for was?
Probably it must have been 2004. So it's probably Al Gore. I think that's who was running in 2004.
No, it was John Kerry.
No.
That was my because my first vote, 2004. My first vote was for John Kerry.
99, 2000,
We're gonna have our producer do a fact check, but I'm pretty sure my first.
I gotta look. I don't even know.
My first vote was a losing vote. I voted for John Kerry. My first time ever participating in politics ever was in elementary school. In elementary school, I want to say John Kerry was 2000, the 2004 vote. In 2008 was Obama versus not Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was 2012. McCain. 2008 was Obama McCain, I want to say. And
that's true.
My first time ever participating in politics at all was Nickelodeon did a thing where they let the kids vote. And I remember voting for Ross Perot because I thought he looked funny. I liked his ears. And also Amanda Bynes did a impersonation of Ross Perot on All That. And my first unofficial vote that I cast was when I called in to Nickelodeon to vote for Ross Perot because I thought it was funny. I don't know so my first vote was for an independent candidate. The Jill Stein
2000. 2000 was my first time voting. I mean, I think it's a different situation. Independent is definitely different than Green Party.
Well, I mean, a different is it? He wasn't he wasn't one of the main.
A third
he wasn't a Democrat
alternate.
or Republican. He was like a third party option.
He was incredibly rich.
Yes, honestly, kind of the Donald Trump.
Incredibly rich.
Well, not quite like Donald Trump, but like the idea of like a billionaire running for office. And I just thought Ross Perot was so charming. I didn't know anything about politics. I was literally in elementary school, so obviously I was not like I might have been in middle school. I can't remember, but I was too young to be voting in politics, and I was like. But I voted, and I think Bill Clinton won. So my first unofficial vote was also a losing vote, and my first official vote was a losing vote as well for John Kerry.
Yeah, the wrong years. But it's good that you voted. I mean, you got a chance to participate in the process. I don't think I had a concept of the black vote back then, but we certainly have one now.
I mean, obviously, if you voted in 2008, then you clearly have a strong concept of what a black vote is because I think Barack Obama really ignited black.
No, I think a lot of people everybody voted obviously for Obama. Yeah. Like that was the time where I felt like what the black folks were doing wasn't different than what the white folks were doing. At that time, I felt like what the black folks were doing was backed up by everybody else. Not everybody, but like most of us who were progressive and, it felt like, oh my gosh, this is like progress, you know.
I mean, I was pretty young. I was 22 years old. And I just remember black folks being really excited in a way that they weren't when it was John Kerry versus George Bush. And then also, the
Hmm.
black vote is specifically Clayton County is what turned Georgia blue this last election cycle.
Thank you, Stacey Abrams.
And specifically black women, because I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of black men in this, I might get this statistic wrong. Maybe we'll fact check me. I believe 1/3 of black men in Alabama cannot vote. 1/3 of black men,
Well, there's
32% of
a
black men.
huge disenfranchisement happening, with
Mhm.
the vote. I mean, there's also a high number of indigenous people who are indigenous to this continent, unable to vote, even though they have their own sovereign communities. Many of them, they still are legally eligible to vote, but there are a lot of voter ID laws that are happening this season and this cycle that disqualify people. Uh, Really do disqualify people that for attributes that are usually connected to their income and their identity. And so, for instance, in the South, in the southern states, there's a lot of black folks that won't be able to vote that are older because they don't have access to their original birth certificate. And some states are saying, in order to get your vote, to be able to register to vote, you need to register with your original birth certificate, honey. And that, like, if somebody's 15 or 18, they can probably more easily do that than somebody who's like 78. And then also, there's indigenous folks who are subject to like sort of new ID laws that are like, you have to have a US government issued driver's license. But in their sovereign community, many indigenous folks don't necessarily have a traditional driver's license. I'm not saying none do, but many don't. Even though they would have been able to vote in previous elections. And so, obviously, going through the process of having to obtain a regular DMV driver's license means having to go outside of a community into a situation that you are not used to doing, which could
Yeah.
either be a deterrent or stop people from being able to vote altogether. And so these are the tricks that they're up to. And Elon Musk just retweeted someone, I won't say who posted apparently, is it Donald Trump that, or it's someone is paying $47 per person for to basically send the information of eligible voters who live in swing states, to get them to sign up for a petition. So basically, Elon Musk is saying, tell me all your friends and family who live in swing states, give me their information so that I can convince them to sign a petition, because I guess it's um, voter tampering or something if you actually try to convince someone to vote a certain way with money, obviously. But if you pay them to sign this petition that also leads them to the Republican registry, whatever, then I guess it's fine. I don't know, but that's what's
For
going on this neck of the woods.
$47, you think my vote
No, no,
is
no.
worth?
No, no. They're not going to pay you $47. They're going to pay you $47 to send the information. Every name you send to Elon Musk, you get paid $47. So if you have 100 friends that live in 100 swing state or different swing states, then you're going to get 4,700. Like, you know what I mean?
I understand. I don't understand why Donald Trump would think that a relatable move to the working class people would be to have Elon Musk come out on stage. I don't understand how he's like,
They love
how
it.
can we, how can we relate to the working class people? I know two billionaires who have both at one point in their life been the richest man in the world on stage
They are. Well, not Donald
telling
Trump now, but
telling y'all broke asses what you need to do. And I think it's because
because
a
they
lot of people
already
think it's
know.
aspirational. A lot of people think they will aspire to what Donald Trump and Elon Musk have one day. But when I tell y'all that when I tell y'all, I want you to fathom how wealthy Elon Musk is. When I say wealthy, I need you to know that Taylor Swift is closer in income to you than she is to Elon Musk, who, by the way, is a billionaire. Taylor Swift just surpassed Rihanna as the wealthiest woman in music. Taylor Swift is closer in her income to the person who works at McDonald's than she is to Elon Musk. That's how wealthy that man is.
You're about to get attacked by Taylor Swift fans. Let me tell you this: the I mean, realistically, I don't think that they would be doing that if they didn't already know that they've succeeded in convincing people who seem to be supportive, or they've done a good job of convincing certain people, the ones who want to aspire to be like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, that the reason why their paycheck is low is because of Haitians. The reason why their paycheck is low and they can't afford the cost of eggs is because of gays reading books. The reason why, like, they've already succeeded in that because they've watched those people suck that supple lie and take it up. And so then they can do anything they want. They can literally, Donald Trump could probably literally go to those people's jobs, rip up their paychecks and say, "You're not working, I'm taking your money, and it's because of the Haitians' fault." And they would believe it.
The Haitians ripped your paycheck to pieces and they ate them. They're eating your checks. They're
The
eating the
Haitians
checks.
did this.
They're eating the paper. They're eating the ink. They're eating the ADT
Yeah.
payroll. They're
The
eating your bank.
scapegoating in our country is real. Is real. The
They're eating the
scapegoating is
tellers.
wild.
But no, it's really wild. And I think that there's a lot of fear because I think they know they've been done new. They lost Minnesota. Minnesota is not going to go to Trump because of Tim Walz. They lost Georgia last time. They lost quite a few really remarkable swing states, and he's trying to do a little shorter swing my way. But baby, the pendulum is not ready to swing back, not yet. To quote Kamala
It
Harris,
doesn't
we're not
matter,
going
but
back.
because they're already, I mean, I want to be serious about this. Don't let that be a comfort to people. People, I think, should go out and vote. And I'm not here to tell people who to vote for. I think people should vote their issues. If you are a person who lives in a southern state that's worried about education and worried about the cost of your groceries or whatever, but also worried about like the high mortality rate of Black women in your area or in this country, then you should look at the candidate and vote, not the candidate. You should look at the party, the local party. I say start locally. Start locally. Start with your city council. Start with your local representatives, your state senator. Start with those folks and see how they're aligned, and then work your way up. And if you happen to get all the way up to one particular party, then great, vote all the way up. Whatever you need to do, but vote the local interests in your community. And the thing that's going to fix your roads, your streets, the garbage, the school district is not going to be having anything to do with Haitians or drag queens reading books. Like, that is the truth. And so if you know your issues and you know what affects your life, then you figure out which elected officials, because there is someone elected into office who can make the decisions that could be the solution to the things that you are complaining about in your life today. So do those things first. Then research the candidates who are talking about those issues in a way that you like, and that's who you should be supporting. And then you need to make sure that you have everything aligned. Not only that you're registered, but you know where your polling place is, and that you actually know that you have your ID ready, you have all these things ready, because unfortunately there are people who are already taking a page out of the January 6th playbook, and they're already saying the pendulum swings both ways, but it's not ready to swing back. I agree with that, which is why they have a big old screwdriver and they're about to unhinge that pendulum at the hinge where it's attached. They're already gearing up sort of challenge laws that will like basically be trigger laws that go into effect, lawsuits, I should say, that are to challenge, state elections across the country on the night of on election night, which is not quite what they did. That they were really slow to do that 4 years ago, but this time they've, I guess, decided to ramp it up and sort of line up and pregame those challenges. So in addition to the voter ID laws and all these new restrictions that they're putting into place, For instance, in Georgia, that they just successfully passed this measure that every single vote that's cast in Georgia has to be counted by hand, by paper ballot or by hand. I don't know if it's by paper ballot, but by hand, which is clearly going to slow things down. And then what they're going to do is say, oh, that's taken too long. They're doing something shady. We challenge it. And another thing that they're doing is they're implementing all of these little things I talked about with the voter ID, with the registration, with the all these different things in smaller counties. So instead of going to what you remember Donald Trump was calling the attorney general, who's in charge of certifying the election in the state, they are they're already saying they're going to challenge county boards of election so that they can't certify locally, so that each county can't certify. And if you have in one state half the counties can't certify because of something or other, then the state can't certify. And that's what mucks things up. And so this is already what's in their plan.
I mean, they're quite illegal. They're doing a lot of really illegal things. And you know, something I've noticed is like, here's something that's wild to me. I'm going to read a list of people: Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, Michael Cohen, Paul Manafort, George Papadopoulos, Roger Stone, Rick Gates, and Alton Wesselberg. Not witnesses. They're all waiting. They're either all in, they have all been sentenced to prison. These are all Trump associates, all of them. And there's probably another I can't remember, like another 8 or so who are waiting to be sentenced. What do you guys think the chances are that someone is just surrounded by criminals? Everyone there's a criminal, but you're not a criminal. Everyone's doing dirt except for you. Are you telling me they're all? And I think at this point, upwards of 30 former Trump cabinet members have come forward, including Mike Pence, the former vice president of the United States, and they're all like, "Listen, I know this man professionally. I know him personally, and I am telling you, he is not fit to be the president of the United States." I think when Mike Pence came forward and said, "Y'all, this motherfucker does not need to be the president," that should have been the only thing people need to hear when Michael Pence, the gayest vice president in America. I'm kidding. Mike Pence, he is kind of gay. He's a little gay. I think he's gay. But when Mike Pence comes forward and is like, "Y'all, this man should not be the president," that should have been like, "Oh, I guess he worked with him, and maybe we should listen to this fella."
No, honey, that's not even where they are now. They're already on to JD Vance, who said he will certify if Trump loses or if Trump doesn't, whatever, if it doesn't go the way that they want. He will certify the fake electors that they put in place. And so that he'll do what Mike Pence didn't do last time. And so they're already on to the new situation, which is, I mean, it's wild, but we're preaching to the choir. These people know, hopefully the folks listening to us know where we stand. And hopefully if you are of voting age, you are doing your research and you are engaged and ready to go, because this does, I know, I feel like we have gotten ourselves into a situation where we are extremely hyperbolic. Not us, not you and me, but just like in our country, in our electoral system and everything, where we are so hyperbolic with everything that it feels like for the past few election cycles or seasons, every single time is like, this is the most important decision in your life. And I'm not saying voting is not important, but like this one really does feel like the big one to me.
I agree. This is the big one.
I know we said that last time,
but it's gotten more.
Well, I didn't say it, but
I have a theory I want to put out there in the world. I feel like a lot of maggots, and I do call them maggots, a lot of maggots, they know that they're being bamboozled. They know they've been scammed. But that being said,
they know they've been put upon.
I thought
you were going to say the rest of the monologue, girl.
No. Some of them have given up everything they have to be. Some of them lost their jobs. Some of them lost their relationship with their parents. Some of them lost their loved ones. They got divorced. And after all of that, for them, they're like, this can't be a lie. I've lost too much.
What? What are you talking about? In what way?
Because a lot of people coming out as MAGA lost a lot of relationships with a lot of people. They lost work, they lost opportunity, they lost so much stuff. And for them, they're like, this can't be a lie now because I've lost so much. Like the woman the county clerk. Can we look up her name? The county clerk
Ah,
who is now doing 9 years in a
years.
federal prison because she believed the lie that the election was stolen. So then she gave a private citizen a fake uh, 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 security clearance to go and take the information from the voters, which is illegal. She gave credentials to someone, to a private citizen, to then go in and hack the systems to do his own research. And of course, once he did his own research, he found out there was nothing there. But you know what? Now she's doing 9 years in
Tina
prison.
Peters.
Tina Peters,
Tina
9 years.
Peters.
This woman is
Mhm.
doing 9 years because of Trump's lie. And
But
it's
no,
been
now they
deliberate.
already think that the justice system and the Justice Department is completely rigged against anyone who's supportive of Donald Trump. And so they just believe that, like, if it is against us, it's just a sham. Like, that's where they are.
But also, what are the chances that everything's a sham except this one guy that everyone's calling a sham? What is the chances that every single person is a sham, but this guy, he's the one telling the truth? And to hop over to this the multiple assassination attempts on Donald Trump, which is interesting. You know, a lot both those people were disgruntled former Trump supporters. This notion that they're Democrats who went, that is true. The first guy was a registered Republican. Second guy also, they were both former Trumpers, and maybe they're obviously those people. I can't speak to their mental well being, but they were like, I've been so shammed. I gotta get my I gotta get one back. Like this is he's ruined my life. This man's ruined the nation. He's ruined our life, and one of those people lost their lives because of the madness and believing the lies that Donald Trump has spun. And at some point, when you realize you ever been scammed, I've been scammed before. You ever been scammed?
Hold up. Well, let me get in, girl. Let me. I mean, I do want to say, like, I think we certainly cannot speak to the mental acuity of the people who attempted to assassinate former twice impeached president, disgraced President Donald Trump.
Dozens of felonies.
However, 34 felonies. However, um, I think it's fair to say that, like, something's definitely wrong if you are attempting to kill someone and shooting them. And so, that really does speaks to an issue of, access to illegal guns. It does speak to the issue of mental health, and it speaks to the issue of, again, all of this, like, political this this conversation. I mean, it is really rich to see. It's important to be fair, I guess, but it is not a surprise that the political temperature is as hot as it is when and I haven't turned it, but we as in human beings have allowed the political temperature to get as hot as it is. We can't flick the switch for the heat and then complain, why is it so hot? And then try to blame other people for the heat. And so, like, to quote, turn down the temperature across the board means to not say a lot of the things that many folks, especially Donald Trump, has said over the past 16 years. Oh, God, 12 years. Uh, you know,
I mean, I'm not a Blue Lives Matter girly at all. I think there's a lot of reform that needs to be done across the board for policing and for the Department of Justice. That being said, imagine being like, we're the party of law and order. So instead of voting for the actual person who worked in the Department of Justice, the actual district attorney, the Glock carrying senator, we're going to vote for the guy with 34 felonies who was found liable for sexual assault, the guy who has scammed and probably been sued more than any presidential candidate in the history of presidency. Imagine being like, we're
I
law and
think it's
order.
falling on
Let's
deaf
get out.
ears. They've already done, imagine that, because they already think the Department of Justice is rigged against them. And they believe in a double standard of justice. The law and order party does not mean hold us accountable. When someone says we are here for law and order and we want law and order, it doesn't mean you get to go into my drawer and snoop through my stuff and tell me what I should do so you can cart me off to jail. That's not what anybody who's in
It
politics
means
who
stopping
says law and
Frisco's
order. It
Negroes.
means I'm going to get you blacks. I'm going to get you
Yeah.
people. We're going to scapegoat everybody else but us. So we are not surprised when the politicians who claim to be law and order, turn around with all the just exactly the same thing as when politicians, this was like a thing back in the 90s and early 2000s. The number one politician to be talking about gay people this and the LGBT, that they weren't really using the terminology LGBT back then, but gay this and gay that and going to hell and there's of Satan and are the first ones to get caught sucking dick in a stall at the airport. The very first ones. Every accusation is a confession.
So that being said, there is a lot to talk
So
about.
that's right. That's right. That's right. Let's get back on it. That's
You
right.
know,
We're featuring
wait,
stories from guests
before we
with
go in,
varying
before we go
political
in, can
beliefs.
I say one thing
Oh,
real quick? The black vote actually matters a
yeah.
lot, not just in politics. I don't know if y'all remember a couple of years ago, the black vote got us our first ever all black uh, Final Four called The Cookout on a show called Big Brother. When black folks unite and decide to use the power, it gags the girlies.
Yes. And I mean, we are still a minority in this country. And so, but it's not just, I don't know that we've ever had a situation where black folks, let's just put it this way. I think historically, it's fair to say, of course, I'm not in the minds of every single black voter, and I certainly haven't lived in every single voting district, but I would imagine that people who are black folks in our country historically, once we actually were able to exercise the right to vote that we were granted years before, but never really had the access to, and then were being encountered by all types of tests and hoops to jump through, including being threatened, our lives being threatened at certain times throughout the history. Once we were able to vote, I think that our relatives who were voting were actually voting on on straightforward issues, not sort of straw man, strong woman, straw person issues. A lot of scapegoating. I really do think that. Just based on reading our history, our American history, there's always been a whole lot of scapegoating, like, people moving into positions of power. And then there was always, from the minute European settlers or colonizers, Europeans came to this country, who were fleeing persecution, religious persecution, and running from a monarch, were instantly implemented that same system of apartheid on the indigenous people here. And then obviously with chattel slavery, our ancestors, but skipping forward, that just never stopped. And so by the time everybody was running around able to vote, people were, threatening the lives of the black politicians that were running, because when you were able to, if you can vote, you can run. They were being threatened. Their lives were being threatened, you know, throughout various districts in our country. And so we has always been a concerted effort to break up the black vote, to break up votes that would vote in sort of the direction of progress. And I do think that black folks in this country historically, this is my opinion. If I look at the history, it would bring me to believe that black folks, once we were able to vote, have always voted in the direction of progress. And we were not alone in that. There were other people that were voting in the direction of progress too, which is how, when everybody's voting, when every progressive votes, we win.
What is her? When we vote, we win. When we play, we win. What's her slogan? When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. that what she says? I can't remember. Um,
I think so, but I don't fight.
I just scratched the girl's eyes out. So with that in mind, let's hear some other people too. Who we got on the docket today, Miss Mama?
We are featuring stories from guests with varying political beliefs to show the diverse perspectives within our community because the Black vote is not a monolith. Okay, now we've got progressive voices, more conservative voices, and pretty much everything in between. Is it too late to say welcome back to season 4?
No, it's never too late. It's never too late to welcome someone. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to season 4 of Town Hall of Black Queer Podcast. So excited to be back here. So excited for all those who listen. By the way, if
Yes.
you listen to us and you really enjoy us, you know what really helps? Go over to iTunes, go over to Spotify, wherever you listen. Give us a review. Give us 5 stars. Give us a review. If you feel we're 5-star worthy, give us a review. And it really helps us get up in the algorithm.
And please, 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 please make sure that you share. Just share this. If it's something you loved that we just said or we're about to say, or if it's something you hated, share it anyway. Excuse me, please,
Oh
because
my
we
God.
want as many of your friends and family to fight with you as possible.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. We have 143 reviews on our. We have 5 stars, gang, gang. We only have 143
Hey,
reviews, so I would love to get that number up to. I would
to
love
at
by the
least
time
243.
episode 2 comes out, I think we can get a solid 500. I believe that. I
I
do.
think that's true. Well, you know what? Maybe by the time this episode's over. So, that being said, I think we should just jump right in to the Black vote. Let's get into it.
All right, so our first guest, Shaman, is a musician and tattoo artist located in Los Angeles, and he describes himself as a free thinker. Shaman talks
Mm.
to us about his disenchantment with the Democratic Party and why he is voting for, you guessed it, Donald Trump.
My name is Shaman the Rebel. I came up with the Rebel because I used to practice Buddhism. And I used to live in Thailand. I used to practice Buddhism out there. And I always felt that I wasn't 100% Buddhist, because there was always this rebel inside of me, like trying to fight. So the way that I like to see it is I'm a shaman, but the rebel and him are in a battle. So it's Shaman the Rebel. So that's kind of how I came up with that. I'm really into like religions, just learning them and just studying them and actually being a student of that. I wouldn't say I am a religious person per se, but I did grow up in a religious household. My father's Muslim, my mother's Christian. I started to find a lot of similarities in between the two, which I feel like a lot of people really don't see the similarities between them. I mean, Jesus is all throughout the Quran, and vice versa. So is Prophet Muhammad in the Bible. So they're kind of like similar archetypes, you know. Being the fact that I'm the only boy, my father would really put that knowledge on me, and my three sisters, they were more into what my mom was doing, which was more Christianity. But me being the fabulous little gay boy I am, I was like, what y'all doing over there? What y'all doing over there? So I was picking up on both of these things, and it kind of gave me a very interesting worldview. I'm 35, I can age myself, Sagittarius here, let's go. I'm like growing out of certain behaviors that used to be my foundation when I was younger. But that's something that's very recent. I wasn't really into politics. I was just like, y'all both dumb. like that's where I was coming from, like I think this part is dumb. I think the whole system is dumb. Burn it down, riot, riot, riot. That's where I was coming from. Nowadays, I'm more like, let's just take a step back and let's just listen to both sides and try to read between the lines and all the bullshit. There's this little saying that I like to say, because you know how they'll say there's a right wing and there's a left wing? I'm like, I don't like the bird. The bird has issues, and that's kind of how I grew up, because I was raised Muslim, and Muslims aren't really supposed to be apolitical, kind of like Jehovah's Witnesses. They kind of stay out of these kind of things. So I grew up like, I don't even like the bird. Like, the right wing over here flapping, the left wing over here flapping. The bird is the problem. Like, so that's kind of how I'm seeing it. And I'm learning how to read in between the lines. Because the way that I see it is like if you was to take out Democrat and take out Republican and just read the words, they're both saying the same thing. Every 4 years, the same issues tend to arise, and I'm kind of getting bored with it. Like I can kind of see it happening, you know. I can kind of see these loops. The next, let's just fast forward. The next 4 years, somebody black gonna get shot right right before the political party. It's like clockwork to me. We're gonna pull up race cards again. We're gonna pull up being gay. We're gonna pull up this. That's just what we do. I spent the last 3 years not hearing anything about race, and now it's like all we ever talk about. And I'm like, this happened like 4 years ago, y'all. This happened 4 years before that. Are y'all not clocking the pattern? You know. Then then like on the Republican side, I feel like they just focus on money. And like I was saying prior, nowadays I have grown up and I am worried more about money than social issues because in my opinion, social issues are always going to be there. Like I'm more concerned about can I get a house in LA? Why these eggs $7? You know, why this gas is expensive? Because it doesn't matter if you black, white, orange, green, gay, straight or not, we all paying the same for gas. That's what I'm focusing on. The social issues we can deal with that on a day-to-day human to human basis, you know. So that's I'm kind of like changing the way that I see the world and it's pissing a few people off, but it's okay. The first time I voted was for Obama because he was black. Let's just keep it real. Like I went with my mom. By the way, I am from Baltimore, Maryland, so like that's where I'm from. So I went with my mom. My three sisters didn't go. They didn't vote. I was like, I just gotta vote. I think I was 18. What was that, like 2006? I can't remember the exact year, but it was a while ago. I voted for Obama because he was black. I didn't know anything about politics. Before Obama, I know it was what George Bush, and you know there was a war, and before that it was George Clinton, and he was the first black president, you know, for all the homies in Baltimore, you know. So that's the first time I voted. I actually haven't voted since then. Like I just really didn't care, and that wasn't the world I was living in. But once I left America and I was living outside of America for the last 2 years, and when I came back, then that's when I'm like, you know what? A lot of my black people never leave their houses, they never leave their communities. They are talking in echo chambers. They don't understand how the rest of the world looks at us. And now I see how powerful, how strong, how brilliant America really is and what it's supposed to be. Not how it was during Jim Crow, not how it was when your grandparents was alive. That doesn't even exist anymore. You know, like how it is now and how it is for everybody. And like once I took myself and stepped outside of America, I was able to see that. And that's kind of where I am now. I'm kind of leaning more towards a conservative. And I'm a goddamn tattoo artist. I was living in Thailand, right? And I was living my life, and I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to hang out with the locals. Like, I'm not going to be staying at the Hilton. What's the point of going to Thailand to go to the Hilton? You still in America, bitch? Like, get it together. So I was staying with the locals, and every single Thai person was like, "You're American. You're American," and I was like, "I'm black," and they were like, "What?" I was like, "Wait, wait." You don't know what that is? They're like, you're American, American boy here. I'm like, they think I'm American. Oh, I am American. I'm only black in America. Oh, y'all don't even know what black people are. And that was in Thailand. I also lived in Turkey. I lived in Spain. I lived in Morocco. You know, and I was getting that all the time. And this is so funny. I was in Thailand walking by Pattaya Beach. There was another black man there, right? And we kind of like lock eyes and we do that look, you know the whole black look. And he was like, "Hey, yo," and I was like, "Yo," and he was like, "You're from America, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I can tell by the way you walk." So with that being said, I learned that this racist kind of rhetoric that we are fed in America does not really exist as much as we think it does. It's something that the media uses to keep us separated. And it's kind of sad. They thought I was rich. They're like, you're American, you rich. I'm like, first of all, you don't know what black people are. You don't know what we gotta pay for. All y'all think this way. You rich, you rich. And it was really just amazing. And like I actually became so proud to be an American. Like I was treated like a god. And I was like, I need to move my black ass over here permanently because they think I'm a god. In America, I'm just another black man. I feel like I just don't see things the same way anymore. And like I try to tell all of my friends, like, y'all have to get out of this place. Y'all have to go to different cities. Y'all and everyone travels, but I'm not saying travel and like go skiing and do like travel-y things. I mean, go and talk to those people from those countries. You talk to those people from those countries, they're gonna tell you really what's up. And it's gonna change your whole worldview about yourself. And now, I moved back to Los Angeles this year, and I used to live in Silver Lake, and I was like, I can't be with these bitches anymore. They're gonna make me fucking go to jail. So I end up moving to Long Beach, and that's where I'm living now. And it's just so beautiful. It's so diverse. Rent's still affordable. Edit that part out. Stay over there, And it's just been really amazing. And I've been meeting and having conversations with people that I just never thought I would be having conversations with. I feel like it is my American duty to vote. I'm most likely going to vote because I feel like it's just a better it's just what I should do as an American. Like you can't talk shit about it if you're not going to be involved. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I like to view my life. It's like, oh, you want to sit here and you want to like have all these opinions, but you're not even voting. So maybe you should just you're not even in the game. So I'm probably going to vote. I'm probably going to vote for Trump. I really I don't find anything wrong with him, to be perfectly honest. And when he was in office, I had more money. He was already president. Like, stop acting like he wasn't already. Black people didn't go to jail. We didn't get hung. Like, what's all this crazy shit people talking about? It kind of bothers me. I'm like, what is that? He was president for 4 years. My gay ass was fine. I was twerking right down Santa Monica Boulevard with the rest of y'all. We were good, you know. But I really do like his policies, and his policies are focusing more on putting money in our pockets and taking money from other countries that have been robbing us for years. And that's really where I'm focused on right now. So that's where I'm at. Actually, my entire family is, and they voted for Trump the first time, and I was like, "Y'all racist," and I'm like, "I can't even. How am I gonna call my mom racist?" Like. But now I have matured and I have grown up. Like I said, I have grown up, and it's like I'm starting to see the show. I'm starting to see, oh, what's really really going on. And that's why I'm going to vote for him. And I mean, unlike and I like the fact that Trump has balls. Trump will go to these media outlets that don't even like him, and he's going to show up. I'm waiting for Kamala to show up. Come on, girl. Like, you got to talk to these other countries who want to kill you just because you a woman, girl. And you can't even talk to me? Oh, oh, they going to mess you up, girl. They don't even so it's like, you can't even talk to us, the black Republicans, like on fly, unscripted, honey. Trump is doing that, and I like that. I feel like it's more for economic reasons because what I said earlier, all the social issues, that stuff gets solved within our own state. Like people don't realize how huge the United States actually is. I mean, even California. Like, for example, there's no way in heaven that abortion will ever get like taken away in California. Now in Utah, maybe, but Mormons live in Utah. That's what they do there. They don't, it's a Mormon state. This is not a Mormon state. This is, for the artists, for the free people, for the the cool, weird. This is what Los Angeles is. So that would never happen there. And that's why I like when Trump said, he was like, I think it should be up to the state. He was like, the people who live in Texas are not the same people who live in LA or New York. The people who live in Milwaukee are not the same people who live in Miami. I've been talking to my friends and they're like, they're trying to take away our gay rights. And I'm like, which ones? Someone please tell me in the comments which ones, because I don't. And I've been to what, 43 states, so I'm like, which ones are they trying to take away? To marry? That's not even, no one's even talking about that. What else? If a job doesn't want to hire you because you're gay, all that is legal already. So what are they taking away? Someone inform me. Like, that's what I'm saying. Stop with this, you are just saying stuff. I'm like, so that's where I'm at. I'm like, if you let me know, then we can talk about it. But I don't know any gay rights in America that actually, I think gay people got more rights than most people. So the reason why I'm not voting for Kamala is because, well, it could change. We still got time. But so far, she hasn't said anything that is going to fix the problems that I'm more interested in. I need my gas to be lower. That works on everybody: gay, straight, trans, green, orange, illegal immigrant. We all paying the same price. It needs to be lower. So that's where I'm focusing on the housing crisis, the like drug crisis. You know, why is this rent so damn high? Like for this cheap ass 1996 building, not even redone. Like those are the issues that I'm focusing on. How come my black children can't read? How come my black children can't do arithmetic? How come we are taking away critical thinking in school? Who's talking about that? Trump's talking about that. Kamala's talking about vote for me. I'm a woman. I'm black. That's it. There's a lot of black women I don't like. There's a lot of gays I don't like too. That's not enough. That's not enough for me. Trump has been saying this since day one. He actually really hasn't changed. He was like, we need to take all this money that we're giving to China, that we're giving to Israel, billions of dollars, cut it. Keep it here. Easy. Easy fix. Now we can fix these streets. Kamala, let's just create new things. But you still making a deal with the devil, honey. I love the fact that finally we're starting to see what America really is, because America is a melting pot of the entire world. It's the only country in the entire planet that is as diverse. And I mean diverse in skin shades, diverse in culture, excuse me, diverse in class, like diverse all the way around. So I'm really happy for that. But again, like, that isn't enough. Like, it can be like, I really don't care if you're white, if you're black, if you're gay, if you're not. What's in your heart, and what are you doing to fix these problems that are affecting everybody, not just gays, not just trans, not just blacks, not just whites. This is 2024. So that's what I'm more focused on. Because excuse me, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you gay or straight or black or white. If you can't eat, we all gonna die. I remember when I used to live in downtown Los Angeles, and I used to have a loft down there. And this was maybe 2015, 16, 17, 18, like around that time. I think Trump was in office. And downtown LA was getting rebuilt. And I was seeing all these new cool shops coming up. And I was like, okay, we might be getting somewhere. Skid Row became this size. Okay, it's stopping at Los Angeles and Fourth. All right. Then Biden got in office. Now, like, everyone build business has shut down. Skid Row's all over the place. What the fuck is the crypto center? What happened to LA Live? What's going on? Like, all these restaurants, all these clothing stores gone. Vacant buildings. Tattoo shops, gone, 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 gone. Now you got homies tattooing in their house. And I'm like, oh, something happened. Something has happened. And like I'm seeing it. And I'm like, interesting. You go downtown right now, there's no businesses down there. They're all even on Melrose, even in West Hollywood. They just shut down like 4 gay bars because they don't have money. I do think COVID did kind of affect that. I mean, COVID has still affected a lot of things, but like I said, it was definitely up to the state. That really wasn't up to the president, whoever that could have or would have been. I used to work at restaurants, right? I used to be a general manager at a really popular vegan restaurant out here in Los Angeles. I was a manager out there for 7 years. I was a general manager. But if it wasn't for my assistant manager, my servers, the cooks, they did more work than me. I was just in the office, like, making, like, dealing with customer complaints, to be truthfully honest, making more than all of them, to be for real, for real. And I know people who live in Los Angeles who serve know exactly what I'm talking about. Like that general manager don't do shit. He in the dang office. That's the president. It's up to everybody else to be on the same page. That's why I'm like, it's really up to the governors, the mayors, who is the uh, police force leaders in your city. Those are the people we should be really voting for and really putting our attention to. That's what I'm learning to do. I'm learning to do that myself. The government works for us, not the other way around. And that's one thing I think people have forgotten. Trump works for me. Kamala, you work for me. You work for the people. And I really feel like a lot of people have given their power to government. Now the government is like, now we working for them. And that's not how it should be. It's like they work for us. So that's what I say. It's up to the people. We got to come together. Like we can have different opinions and we can come from different backgrounds, but walking down the street every day, I'm not thinking of some white boy being racist. I'm not thinking of some like I'm thinking of like we all safe here. Let me go to Target. Like how much money I got in my account because I really do want this lampshade. Like that's what I'm thinking about. And I think most Americans are kind of in that same thing as well. It's like these government officials work for us. I think at the end of the day, once we all have money in our pockets and we're all able to feed ourselves and all able to just kind of live a peaceful life, all that other noise kind of go away. It's like I ain't worried about him. I'm over here trying to get a new lawn. Like I'm over here trying to get a new garage. I don't. We stop worrying about the reason why I can't get affordable housing is because I'm black. The reason why I can't is because I'm gay. The reason why I can't because of this. It's like once we already get our basic needs met, we stop thinking about stuff like that. You think Beyonce thinking about anything? She's over here like I'm on a yacht, girl. We are me, Blue, and Sir. We are in Barbados. Y'all would have, you wish they have money already. So it's like everyone don't got to be a millionaire, but I mean, we are Americans. We are the richest country on the planet. Everybody should at least have 10 grand in their savings. At least. I don't currently, but I will. I will. I'm trying. Only got about $600, but someone got to pay my rent. Like I come from Baltimore. There's like legislative practices keeping black people stupid. That has been a democratic country for what, 60 years? And y'all all still poor? And y'all all still stupid? Don't come. No. Put put the racist Republican there. I bet you that won't be the case anymore. I bet y'all all have money now. There was a saying that Einstein said. He said, for those who keep doing the same thing but expecting a different outcome, that is insanity. And I go to all these democratic cities. I go to New York. I go to Chicago. I go to Baltimore. Even LA. And like I look at these black communities who have been voting for these Democrats, wolves in sheep clothing, and they've been voting for their own demise. There's not enough welfare that they're going to give you, baby, for you to start your own business. Trust. And for the Republicans, I'm coming for you too. Wait till I get my money right. I think Kanye West said that. but there has to be some kind of law or some kind of system that can make sure all that money is being circled back into America and being funneled not maybe not evenly, but being funneled in a way that supports its people working from the ground up. Whoever can do that, you're getting my vote. It's probably Jesus. Honestly, I would rather Michelle Obama run. I'll vote for her. Just because I actually got a chance to meet her when I lived in Maryland, and I got a chance to meet Obama at the HRC convention in 2008. It was very beautiful. I had like $9,000 seats. Sugar Daddy was paying for it, not me. He's dead now, but I actually got to meet. I actually really got to meet her, and besides that, I think she's very intelligent. I think she's fearless. Everything that Kamala isn't currently doing, Mrs. Obama already got that in the bag. She's highly educated, and she's worldly. She's respected around the world. She can probably go to like North Korea and get that place in check. Like there's a lot of countries that are leeching and off of America and really need America. So we need someone who's strong and powerful who don't take no shit. You ain't getting nothing past Miss Michelle, honey. I'll vote for her in a heartbeat. Bye, Trump. Everything I said goodbye. I'll vote for her in a heartbeat. Like I'm gonna go where what is ever smart for right now. And I think it's really beautiful and powerful to have that flexibility. I'm black. I'm supposed to vote Democrat till I die. Stop that. That's stupid. Listen to what's happening right now. But if Michelle was to run, everything I said, just don't even post this. Just we vote for Michelle today. Like, amen, Jesus Christ. But yes, I'm glad that there is a black woman running for the president. That's a beautiful thing. I'm so excited for like a trans woman to run, but she better be smart. I'm gonna still clock you too, honey. It's all love, all love.
Do you know personally black Trump supporters? Like personally?
You know what? I don't know. I got to be honest with you. When I wasn't quite sure growing up in the 90s and growing up in the 80s, but like, between the 80s and 90s, I don't even think I had a concept of people having been obviously not Trump supporters, but, Republicans. Not, of course they existed, but I just didn't really have. There was a thing back in the many, many years ago when I was younger, when we were all younger, of like not really discussing who you were going to vote for necessarily. And then there was another moment in time where I think I remember people volunteering when their vote or when their ideological vote, like even if we were like 13, we weren't voting, but like who we would have voted for, what was progressive. So if somebody was going to be progressive, then they would be proud to sort of tout that. Of course, I went to a black high school and, yeah, I don't think anybody was going to be very eager to be talking about being a black Republican in that environment. But that being said, George Jefferson is a notorious black Republican. And so we know that they exist,
George?
and it's
Wait,
usually.
you talking about the character?
Uh-huh.
I guess I haven't seen that show in a long time.
I mean, that was pretty much the point.
There's a scene I want to recreate from the Jeffersons with you.
Oh, God.
I've told you
what
about
is it?
Well, there's a scene where
yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it.
George Jefferson has a friend come out as trans to him. And it's really interesting how they actually play it for laughs. But you can take the exact same script, and play it earnestly. And it can be really impactful.
Mm-hmm.
Truly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it plays for laughs now, but I do think it was really impactful when it.
I mean, they were laughing on. There was a laugh track behind it. There was like a laugh.
There was a laugh track.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that was always to break. I think it was clearly to break the tension, but just the, I mean, there were certainly I mean, I don't really know. I can't. I don't know I can't speak to the context of it because it aired before, you know, I was around. Not before I was born, but
Before
before
you
I
were really
saw it.
perceiving art on a intellectual level. Let's
Yeah,
say
at
that.
that level. It was in reruns when I saw it a couple years later.
Got it.
But I do think that I think it was certainly a an outlier. I think it was a heavy hitting because it was something that the nighttime television viewing public in America hadn't really seen, especially from Black folks. I mean, I it might have been the first Black trans femme character on mainstream television. I don't know. Y'all can fact check me, but I don't know where. It goes back pretty far. That was early 80s.
And
Um,
Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil goes back pretty far too.
Not before the Jeffersons.
Actually, I don't know when Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil came. I don't actually have the actual
It's in the
year.
nine. It took place in the 80s, in the late 80s, and then
Oh, that's what
became
it was.
Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil became a thing in the early 90s. But
Oh, it wasn't even early.
like a
It was
book.
1997. It wasn't even that early.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a book that you're talking about the movie,
Yeah,
but
the movie.
it's
Yeah,
written. Well, it's about true story,
yeah. No,
which
I know.
happened
I'm
in
talking
the
about when. I'm just
80s.
talking about when the movie came out.
Oh, the movie. Yeah, yeah,
We're talking about on
yeah,
film.
yeah,
Yeah, which is a
yeah.
Broadway, which is not
Which
a Broadway,
came
which is a
out.
music, which
The
is a
book
musical
was in the
now.
early 90s.
Which is a musical now
It's
starring J.G. Harrison, who is the non-binary winner. Actually, two on one night, two non-binary artists both won Best Actor and Best Supporting. Alex Newell and J.G. Harrison for "Shucked" and "Some Like It Hot."
They did. They did. So I
Beat me
wonder,
to
I
it.
mean, that is really interesting because Lady Chablis, anyway, let's keep going. Um, yeah, that was in the 90s. And in the 80s was the Jeffersons. Anyway, we digress.
We do digress.
We got to get back. I digress. Our next guest, Cameron, is a student currently getting her her BA in American Studies with a minor in race and ethnicity. And this past summer, she worked with the Community Engagement and Inclusion Department at her college as an elections fellow, tasked with, you guessed it, building programming to educate the university's population on voting.
That
I
was
mean,
that was crazy.
I
You
could
are so
actually
camp.
see, I actually, what?
I said you're so camp. I love you so much.
Well, I love you. And I just dropped my phone. I I actually think that like it's entirely possible for college students to like just like not know when it's time to vote. You know what I mean? It's not like
Oh
you're necessarily interacting and engaging. Like when I was in college, I didn't even have television. I didn't have cable. I didn't even have a radio. Like I just was getting up and going
what?
to class like a machine.
I mean,
Um
you were an
anyway,
art school kid. When I was in college, Al Gore had just lost the popular vote in the year 2000. So in the year 2004, folks were like, "Never again will the person with the most votes not win the presidency." Anyway, cut to Hillary Clinton. Obviously, that did not happen again. But people were so energized because of George Bush's response to 9/11, because of all the clips and the movie Fahrenheit 9/11, because of all this stuff. People were just super engaged with with voting in the year 2004. But I have not yet seen an election since I started voting that was less uh riveting, shall we say, for lack of a better word, than the previous one. I mean, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris actually received more votes than any presidential vice president ticket in the history of the country.
And, I mean, that's because and the reason why the people who have received the most votes sometimes don't win in our country is because we are still romanticizing and perpetuating this one of the mainstays, bastions of American apartheid is as the American Electoral College, which was put in place as a block that basically removes one vote, one person, it removes that from the equation
Which
in a
supports
way
my theory
that's.
that college is a scam, even the electoral college. But
Anyway,
let's go back to this college student.
yeah. Anyway, um, Cameron wanted to get this together to promote voting on the university and for the university's population, specifically with the upcoming election. And Cameron shares with us the importance of community building. So let's take a listen.
My name is Cameron Herring. So my pronouns are she, her. I've been identifying as queer since I was 12 years old. I am a Los Angeles native, but I'm currently a student at Barnard College in New York City. I'm finishing up my last year. I'm an American Studies major, so I study history with a minor in race and ethnicity. So I think about all this stuff quite a bit. So I grew up in Los Angeles here. So my parents would always take me to the polls with them when they would vote here. I'm from like a beach town here as well, so I grew up in like West LA area. And I just remember like every election cycle, my mom would like take me to the poll with her in our neighborhood, and she'd give me a little sticker, and like that would kind of be the end of it. And so it was something that's always been around me growing up, but in terms of me knowing how to vote, that's kind of a whole different conversation. I've noticed I don't know, I think this is common for a lot of college students, but it wasn't until I like came to college that I learned like the actual like 8,000 step process to actually vote. You know, how do I register? Like what's a ballot measure? Like what's actually on my ballot that I will be filling out for my state? Where should I vote? Should I vote in New York or should I vote in California? And like should I question that? So yeah, that's always kind of been there. I just recently learned how to like actually legit vote though. I don't think it should be that hard. I mean, so one thing that we're doing at my school this fall is we're going to do like a postcard writing event where we send out postcards to remind Black women in like swing states and in red states to check their registration status because it's common for Black women to just be falsely recorded as being deceased or randomly like deregistered for no reason. And so when they show up to the polls on election day, they can't cast their ballot because they're not registered for some reason. And this is happening literally nationwide. And so 100%, 100%, I think it's intentional. It does not have to be that difficult to cast a ballot, but they make it so. I think so. My major in particular, I read a lot of like Black theory, Black social theory. It doesn't even just have to be Black, but just like socialist theory in general, work labor theory, all that kind of stuff. And kind of the purpose of my major has always been to try and apply theoretical frameworks to like how you see the world functioning in your own day to day and in your own communities and stuff like that. And so on the one hand, it's been a really helpful tool to kind of put words and name the things that I experience as a Black queer woman, you know what I mean, in my day to day life, and what I see the people around me experiencing. But on the other hand, too, and this is like an ongoing conversation that I have in most of my classes, where a lot of people in academia that study this stuff, we're also aware that we are critiquing something from the outside. Like when just the act of like sitting in a classroom and critiquing the world, you're kind of viewing it from an outside perspective, if that makes sense. And so when it comes to voting, especially with this election here, it's been really interesting to hear different sentiments on campus surrounding whether or not we should vote as students and like kind of what that looks like. And I've noticed that there's this a pretty large conversation at my school actually surrounding people deciding not to vote or wanting to vote third party and stuff like that. And it's just interesting when that conversation is being had in an academic, very wealthy setting. You know what I mean? When we're removed from, in a lot of ways, removed from people's day to day. You know what I mean? And the people that will be directly experiencing what bad policy would look like and what having poor leadership looks like and stuff like that. My whole job this summer was to like figure out how to make programming that would give students like the resources they need to vote and like help them make decisions on whether or not, you know, they even want to participate at all. And after doing all this research and just reading up on everything, I will vote. I'm registered now. I will be participating in this upcoming election. And I don't know, I just found that like if I have, as someone from Los Angeles, do you know what I mean? If I have the power to cast a ballot, something that for where I'm located is not something that's difficult to do, luckily, which is not the case for states all across the country and people all across the country, I'm going to do that. Um, I think that in a lot of ways, Kamala's policies will protect a lot of people in this country in a way that Trump's policies would not. And that's literally just a fact, you know? And do I think this is the be all end all and the only way to engage and make our society better? No, but I think it's an important component. So with my work, I interacted with a lot of people within the community next to my college. So I actually did a lot of like side organizing with like little kids in the community and making programming for them for after school, like summer things for them to do. And so I got to meet like their parents through that and see what like little kids, right? So that's one demographic there. And then in the program, we had to think a lot about like what faculty on campus wanted to see. And most people that work at my school like live in Harlem and like live in the general vicinity in that way. Definitely just with I feel like everyone like maybe 30 and up, this is not as debatable as it is for people that are my age. That's just what I've noticed like across the board. Even with my own boss, like me bringing up to her that this is even like a really hot conversation happening right now with people especially my age, she was like gobsmacked because it's kind of unthinkable to not participate for older people. I think that's kind of just like, especially for when you talk to like like when I talk to like my parents about this stuff and the fact that this is a debate, they're like in shock that this is even a question. But I think, I mean, to kind of, I don't know, speak on behalf of younger people as well, at least for me, this is the first presidential election that I'm able to participate in, period. This is the first time I've been like of age to even cast my ballot for a presidential election. That's the case for a lot of people my age too. The only elections in recent memory have been the previous Trump, like have been crazy, have been the previous Trump election. You know what I mean? Like this is our only frame of reference. And so this being a hot topic when you have that context, I feel becomes less shocking, especially after 2020. I know a lot of people like did a lot of homework and deep diving in terms of like America's colonial past, America's imperial past, America's ongoing colonial and imperial projects abroad and within the country. Um, Poverty in our country, people not having access to like basic goods and services that they need to survive, people needing to work 3, 4 jobs in order to support themselves, the housing market, the list is so long. And I think that a lot of young people have especially after 2020. I know a lot of people did that deep diving and that work um, to kind of understand that our government doesn't necessarily always have our best interest at heart. And there are a lot of people at play kind of that make that true. And so going into the election, I think that distrust is like the number one thing at the back of our minds. Biden's policies with, at least in the communities that I'm interacting with, Biden's policies in terms of Israel Palestine and that whole entire situation. I know that was like the people's initial reaction. I know a lot of people that felt that way. They were like, Kamala is Biden's right hand man, and there's still an ongoing genocide happening. And what have they done about it? They continue to write checks. And that was kind of a big point of contention as well. And this was more popular for people to say when Biden was still on the ticket, but people kind of making the argument that Trump being really bad is not a good enough argument to not um, to cast a vote for Biden and for the Democrats. Like they also need to take active steps to prove that they're like worth voting for. I started to realize, at least in my school community, a lot of the people that were saying don't vote and don't participate were like very wealthy white people that were around me. And instinctually, literally, I was like, I don't know if I believe you guys. Like, I just don't trust y'all's judgment. I'm gonna be so real. So let me think about this a little bit more. So that was like my first like red flag. A part of me does just recognize the fact that like a Black woman being on this ticket, period, is insane. And especially because of a lot of the work I'm doing, I read about Black history on a regular basis. And so all of like the memory of slavery and the memory of everything that Black people have gone through in this country and abroad is always kind of fresh in my mind almost. And so the fact that this is happening now is insane when you really do think about that history and kind of give yourself a good refresher on it. it's remarkable, you know? And a part of me as a Black woman, like, does want to celebrate that and does want to hope for the best. And that's just kind of this optimism within me that I feel like a lot of Black people are experiencing too. And I've just noticed with like white peers in particular around me, that feeling of like hope because she's Black doesn't necessarily exist in the same way that it might for me. So that was honestly a big underlying reason for me too. And then lastly was me just like waking up and kind of being like, let me be realistic about what a Trump presidency would look like for queer people everywhere, for Black people everywhere, for minorities everywhere, for people abroad. You know, what type of government do I want to be protesting under, a Trump presidency or a Kamala presidency? Do you know what I mean? Or I feel like that's not even comparable. The main sentiment of like pushback that I've received is kind of along the lines of like, um, you're like selling out kind of in a way, like kind of questioning my morals almost because I feel like this is important for me to engage and to vote in this election. I've noticed that that's like the immediate response if people don't share the same sentiments as I do. It's kind of this, oh, so you're really not about it in the way that you claimed to be. I don't know. I've noticed that like as the months go on, I've seen like more people, at least on like TikTok and like online discourse, have kind of like began to kind of also take on this sentiment of like, okay, let's be a little more realistic about our expectations in terms of, you know, what the function of our government is, what an American presidency usually looks like, and is there a way for us to kind of be realistic about our expectations and manage our expectations? Well, I know when I talk to my grandma, for instance, and this is my white grandma, I'm mixed. Or my mom is mixed, so I'm like 3/4 Black if you wanna divvy it up that way. But anyways, I grew up with my white grandmother. She was like one of the women who raised me, and I've talked to her a lot about this election. And for her, like, she's just floored that she's gonna be able to see a woman, period, be elected in her lifetime, let alone a Black woman. Like, whenever I bring this up to her, she gets, like, moved almost to tears at the thought that this is even, like, a reality that she could be living through right now. Um, I think it's I don't know. I think because of like, and we're lucky because of this. I feel lucky because of this. But the world that we're living in today, at least in terms of diversity, in terms of representation, looks so incredibly different to what our world looked like even 20 years ago. You know, media wise, in terms of who's in office, etc. Obviously, there needs to be more. But when you compare, at least statistically, what things looked like even a couple decades ago, the types of people who is being elected right now, the types of stuff they're standing up for in terms of LGBT rights and making sure that people of color are protected and supported, immigration, all of this stuff, we're starting to hear new voices that are in the room and are able to make a difference in a way that was not a thing even a couple decades back. And I think that especially for older people, like seeing this shift and being able to like just living through this shift in general has made them feel really optimistic in our government and in our society in a way that I think younger people don't feel optimistic in the same way. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So I feel like there's kind of this huge divide. For them, it's literally like we've made so much progress. How can you not see it? And for us, it's like we literally just haven't necessarily been alive long enough to see what you're seeing. And it's just looking pretty bad to us, you know, in a lot of ways. I really believe in the power of communication. I believe in the power of like persuading people through sharing your lived experiences, sharing real stories. Obviously, this isn't the case for everyone in power, but I do think that there are good people in power that will listen and that do want to hear stories and can be swayed by stories that feel compelling. I mean, I think this about movies, media, everything. Like representation matters. Literally, I like, for example, this is a poor comparison, but I'll bring it up. But when me and my little sister saw Halle Bailey as a Little Mermaid, literally we were sobbing for the first half of the movie. You know, like it's that serious. Just to physically see somebody, even if they're not perfect, to be able to see and be like, hey, somebody that has my identity is able to hold this position and impact a lot of people's lives, hopefully for the better because of it. Like that matters, you know, it changes what I think that I am capable of doing in my own country. So I love acting. That's like my like main joy. I was writing about this recently, but like even in media, seeing a lot of Black women in like almost non-conventional roles lately, like Lupita Nyong'o in like A Quiet Place, and seeing I don't know, like Queen Charlotte and like all of Bridgerton, honestly, and Black people being like royalty and kind of exploring this. I don't know. I think we're just living in a really exciting time, especially just for Black people and, what positions Black people can hold and what Black people can be seen as. Um, yeah, that's like the first thing that comes to mind is that. You know, I any leadership position that I could want at this point, a Black woman, at least in this country, has probably like held that position at some point, which is a crazy milestone to hit as well. So my aunt is she is the majority leader for the state of Virginia. She's the first Black woman to actually hold her position, which is awesome too. So I talk to her pretty much every summer and just talk about what that looks like for her and she enjoys her work and stuff like that. I think it takes a very particular type of person to be able to run for office and keep their sanity and continue to uh, fight to have good policy enacted. My aunt is super like, she's just very rational. She's very calm. She's good at mediating. I think I may be a little too like, ah, you're wrong. Like that's kind of maybe my vibe a little bit too much to be to hold office. Maybe one day, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. So, yeah, maybe so. I think right now at my age, I'm a little too like, I don't think I have the patience that you need to run for office and to hold office. But maybe, who's to say? We know this as Black people. It's like we don't exist in a monolith, you know what I mean? And it's just very interesting. And this applies to like both sides of like any political anything. But it's just interesting how Black voters and Black voting is used as like a ploy. Like even if you look like watch like a Trump rally, I don't know if people are out here doing that, but if you see a photo, they'll place like a Black person right behind Trump just to show that they're in the room and see like if you're Black, that's why you should support me, as if we don't have like thoughts and nuance beyond just like seeing ourselves there. Do you know what I mean? And so I always think that's just a really interesting thing about the Black vote in general. Um I do believe, I don't know if this is backed up by stats. I feel like it is, but I'm pretty sure like the Black vote does have the power to like sway entire elections. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the case for like most minority, like even like the Latino vote, for example. Like I know that's a case for that too. I'll have to read up about it more like statistically, but I think it does. In terms of how people choose to like get the Black vote, that's a whole like other conversation. And like, what does that even mean? So one day on during my job actually this summer, one of my coworkers' friends came in, also a student. Kind of my whole college is run by like students during the summer and during the year too. So she comes in, my boss is there too, and we just started talking to her about the election. We're like, hey, are you like planning on voting? She's white too. And she was like, I'm thinking about like voting third party. I don't know if I want to participate. And her main reasoning was behind what we had talked about earlier in terms of Biden's response to the genocide happening in Palestine and like that whole situation, right? And so that was her main reason for wanting to not vote at all. And my boss got, I don't know, she had just like a long conversation with my boss, but throughout it all, and me too, and with our friend. And by the end of it, she kind of seemed more like unsure of if she was going to participate at all. But through the conversation, it was clear that like beyond that particular issue, she hadn't necessarily thought more about civic engagement past that. Do you know what I mean? And this is like a bigger theme too that I talked about a lot during the summer with my boss too and with my friends and my coworkers. A lot of people, especially my age, can be very impressionable, you know what I mean? And tend to follow the pack, you know what I mean? And so especially at my school, because it was kind of the normal take to be like, I'm just not gonna participate at all. We're gonna vote third party. That's what we're all doing collectively. Once we started talking to this girl a little bit more, it was clear that she just hadn't necessarily like thought about it much past that decision that everyone kind of unspokenly kind of made. Because this is something that I've noticed coming up quite a bit is it's been really difficult for at least people in my community, like white leftists, to critique Kamala without bringing racism into it. And I've seen that happening regularly. Do you know what I mean? Like even a couple days ago, someone at my school who was not Black was kind of like critiquing Kamala, sharing their thoughts and opinions, as you should. But in it, she called Kamala a caricature of a Black woman, which was just interesting because it was like, I don't know, like, do you as a white person or as a person, period, have, because she's black, period, you know what I mean? Regardless of how you feel about her as a person, you know? But it's just very interesting how quickly things kind of devolve into racism, you know what I mean? When people are trying to critique a black person. And so I don't know. I think if she was white, I think that people would feel more comfortable, especially white people would feel more comfortable critiquing her and the way that they still are now. But they're just, the racism element of it would be removed. But I think they might be a little bit harder on her because I think the fact that she is black does make people pause a little bit more before they come to critique her because there might be worry about being racist or coming off as being problematic or whatever the case. And here's tea. At my school, especially with a lot of like white leftists in general, I have so much contention with the people at my school because it's a really small liberal artsy women's college where a lot of people here mean well, but what everyone's advocacy looks like is very different. And it's a space where people like to police how other people show up and pass judgment on your own morals based off of how you choose to show up and engage or not show up. Okay. And so, one thing that I've just found with Kamala in particular is, especially with like me deciding to vote for her in this election, there's this, can be this air of, oh, well, you're not actually about what you say you're about. You're not actually as critical of our government as you say that you are. You don't actually care about the well being of people in this country in the way that you say that you do if you participate in the elections that the government runs. And that's kind of like the the sentiment that you can hear a lot on my own campus. But what's so interesting about this is the same people that are saying this aren't necessarily engaging in the community that they currently occupy and are gentrifying regularly right now, you know? Like they don't know their neighbors' names. They don't go into Harlem and do community engagement work and get to know their neighbors. They move into Harlem and actively gentrify the space themselves, you know, and then don't give back whatsoever. And yet they claim to kind of know best in terms of how to show up for a community that you care about. It's like you're not even practicing that right now, right here in our own community. You know what I mean? And so why are you passing judgment on me and how I choose to show up for the people in my own country, you know, when I could be passing that same judgment on you for a long menu of things, but I don't. So I study like Black history. Like I am American Studies major with a race and ethnicity minor. I literally spend so much time reading about Black people's lives and Black people's own writings about their own experience, you know, and even just like historical facts about what Black people have been through, not only in this country, but abroad. The fact that a Black woman is on this ticket right now is literally inconceivable. When you revisit the textbooks and you read through the horrific origin story of Black people in this country, it literally makes little to no sense that a Black woman could even hold this office today, you know, or even potentially hold this office today. And so I know for me, like that excites me, you know? Can I still be critical of her? Of course. Will I still be critical of her? Of course, as you should, as all people should. But I think that we would be remiss to not acknowledge the fact that this is a big deal.
Ah, okay, that was fantastic. It is really good to see young folks engage. And I don't mean to, I don't want to say that sounding like an elder, because I know that so many people say, oh, the young folks, they just don't vote. And I know that statistically and historically, younger voters don't usually turn out. But I do think that that is because there's disenfranchisement for sure. There's a lot of young voters who can't necessarily turn out to vote in the same way. I think that, socioeconomic issues for younger voters are a thing. If somebody doesn't have transportation or the ability to go or access to certain things, that can't affect young voters for sure, especially like the 18-year-olds. And then on top of that, the candidates historically, the candidates and the way that the campaigns have run historically, they're geared to speak at, I won't even say to, blue collar workers and people who are of an older, basically adults. And so the youth vote isn't necessarily something it may be coveted, but it's not something that's worked for and earned. And we've seen that historically, the voting blocks that have voted correctly with in politically with the tides of change have been the youth vote that signals, and it's particularly when the anti-war vote is considered, and
You all
that's
should
both
really,
historic and current events.
and you all should definitely know that the largest voting bloc in America, millennials. Millennials, we are the largest voting bloc in these United States of America, and the second largest voting bloc is Gen Z. So the two youngest voting generations have the power.
That's because because the rest of us are dying.
Yeah, I understand. It's not like lost on me why. That
Okay.
that's not behind me. Um, I also
Okay.
think that there just happen to be a like. I also think the millennials were also a very populated outside of baby boomers. Millennials just happen to be like the number of baby boomers and the number of millennials
Millennials is
is
even.
far greater than the number of Gen Xers. Um, and maybe that has
Oh.
something to do with about what's going on in the country and why people are fucking so hard. But there just happen to be a lot of baby boomers when they were born, a lot of millennials. There will be no more millennials born. There will be no more Gen
Mm-mm.
Zs born.
It
We're
has a
done
lot to
being
do
born.
with it has a lot to do with during the this is my hypothesis
It's the milk.
that in the
Drinking that whole
60s
milk.
it's the milk because with the boomers who were born in the 50s and the early 60s and the late 50s early 60s, we still had sort of traditional family values, and there were not a lot of women that were working. It wasn't until women's lib and the 60s and 70s, which is when Gen Xers were born, conceived and born, that contraception became a lot more accessible. Also, Roe v. Wade became a thing in literally at that time. And so Gen X was at the start of Roe v. Wade, more widely accessible contraception, and knowledge about sexual sexual health in a way that it certainly wasn't in the 40s and 50s when boomers were. I hate calling them when baby boomers were conceived. I'm not calling them boomers. We're not doing
They're
that.
boomers.
So I think it's
And also, I think that
we
Gen
saw
X
a
was.
dip.
I also think Gen X was a smaller period of time. I feel like millennial is like just a giant. It's like 1980 to like 1994. It's like 14 years, or maybe even more. It's just a big. I feel like Gen X is a really
It
tiny
is more
little.
than that because I'm definitely Generation X and I'm 79.
Yeah, so it's in 1980 to 1994, basically. Is millennials.
There's not an exact date. Who
No,
cares?
it's not an exact, but it's in the way you wear your jeans, in the way you part your hair.
Wait, isn't that in a song lyric?
No, that's what they say. They say it's the way you part your hair, the way you wear your jeans. That determines your
How do you
generation.
wear your jeans?
So apparently millennials do side parts and skinny jeans. Gen Zs do middle parts and flare leg jeans.
And what do Gen Xers do? Nothing.
I don't know. They wear that old nasty bob, that nasty movable bob, that Maxine Shaw from Living Single bob. Let's keep going.
Hey, living single was, the blueprint for Friends, allegedly.
Yeah, of course.
You
Yeah, of
heard?
course. I love
Yeah.
Living Single. Of course. Yeah, yeah.
I love living single so much, and I was devastated. Anyway, the point is,
And they got
please
5
register to
seasons.
vote. Please.
They got 5 seasons. That's a lot of seasons.
Yeah, it's true. The point is, please register to vote. This is only part one, though. We are coming back with part two of the Black vote, and that's just because there's too much to talk about with this. But it is a good idea, even if you are, just check now that you are registered to vote
Yes. You can
and
go to
find out where your
vote.org.
polling location is.
You can go to vote.org to find out. I also want you all to know this, too. You can early vote. You can go vote early. Everyone's like, why does voting have to be on one day?
Depending on
It
what state
doesn't.
you're in.
Yeah, depending on what state you're in, yes. Pennsylvania doesn't have early voting. But most places you can go early vote. Most places. I forgot you're from the PA. I'm in Pennsylvania right now, actually, Pittsburgh. And also, I want you guys to know that me and Monet released a palette called the Presidential Palette, which is available at bomobeauty.com. And all of the proceeds from this palette go to Black Voters Matter. Okay, the proceeds from this palette go to Black Voters Matter. This is not a get rich quick
I'm
scheme
gonna
for anyone.
buy one.
It
What
only has
color is it?
is I'll tell you this: the colors are representative of our presidents. It is a 46 pan makeup palette, eyeshadow palette. So you can do with that information.
There's 46, and there's a color for every president.
Every president has been assigned a color. Yes. And that's all I'll tell you. You all can go
Oh,
check it out yourselves and see what I
oh
mean by that.
God. Let me go
All
to the
right.
collections.
All right. On
Okay.
that,
Oh, we'll see you in a few minutes because just
also,
like,
by
I
the
mean,
way,
we'll see you in a week.
wait, quick note to you all too. If you want to support Black Voters Matter, you don't have to buy a makeup palette. You can just go to blackvotersmatter.org and support them. They're getting out the black vote, so you don't have to go to BOMO to buy makeup to support. You can just go do it, of your own
Yeah.
volition.
Buying the presidential palette in no way counts as your vote.
No, it does not. It does not. So I want to give a quick special thanks to our production team, executive producer Tracy Marquez, executive producer Charlene Westbrook, producer Corey Nixon, and post producer Amelia Ritaler. And our music is by Lefembe. We'll see y'all next week.
It's true. See you next week. Leave a comment.